this video we're going to discuss the different categories of personal vaporizers in hopes of sort of helping you better match or more closely match your expectations with a device, okay? And that is a rather important thing, alrighty? Many people get something that might be underpowered, okay? They wind up getting frustrated because they have to fight with the device. And obviously, when you have to do that, you know, sometimes it's a little bit easier to set it aside and kind of, you know, transition back, all right? Whereas if you have the right device providing the right type of power and the right sort of feeling, if you will, then it just makes it a little bit easier to move forward. Alrighty? So, if you want to get your toe wet, alright, disposables. Alright, about $4 or $5 online, anywhere between $7 and $9 in stores. You simply remove it from the packaging. There's no buttons, it's all one piece. Youvape. Alright, the only gripe I have with these types of devices is that they're capable of delivering a better first impression than they usually do. This particular one happens to be borderline excellent, okay? I've tasted others though, and some of them are just nasty, okay? So if you're going to go this route, get 2 or 3 different brands, alright, and hopefully one will taste better for you, okay? So again, if you want to get your toe wet. If you want to get your foot wet, the 510. Okay, this must be sold with at least 500 different sort of, you know, brand names. All right, it's a 510 battery. It's sleek, it's small, can fit in a pocket or purse. All right, easy to carry around. Obviously, because of its design, a lot of new vapors just transitioning in. You know, I can sort of see the natural inclination to want to go with a device like this. All right, this happens to be a manual battery. So you just push the button and you vape. Okay, a little bit better performance than the previous model. And if you're a little bit of a heavier vapor, okay, they've also come out with these personal charging cases. All right, this is basically one big battery, which you charge via USB, okay, and you use the larger battery to charge the smaller battery. Inside it looks something like this. Regardless of the specific model, the idea is always the same. It has an area where you can store your cartomizers. There's the extra battery, and up here is where you would insert the battery to be charged, okay? And something like this greatly increases the vape time of you know, a smaller model like this. And if I had something like this, you know, maybe about 5-6 years ago, I probably would have been home free. Okay, so it does really extend the battery life because you're using one and always charging a battery. Okay, so you always have a spare. So that's if you want to get your foot wet. Now, if you want to jump in with both feet, whenever someone comes to the message boards and they say, look, I really want to give this a good, solid try, and, you know, what should I buy, what should I buy? Most people, and I, recommend something in this category, okay? We used to call them fat bats. I'm assuming the term still holds, obviously because the battery is a little bit fatter than the previous model that we just saw. Models in this category would be like the Riva 650, the Riva 900, okay? They also have an 1100. It starts getting a little bit longer at 1100. But a Kago would be another model to take a look at. And the basic idea is that these are rather inexpensive, okay? They give you much greater vape time than the previous models we've taken a look at thus far. You probably get a good 5-6 hours between charges on something like this. And just for now, suffice it to say that there's not really many limitations as to what you can connect to it, okay? Cartomizers, tanks, etc. So it gives you the flexibility down the road to fully customize your vaping experience, all right? So if you really want to give it a good go, so to speak, something in this category, Riva 650, Kago. There's also the Ego Twist that's out, okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. That's another sort of, you know, in this model in this fat bat category. All right. Now, if that's not enough, and you want to sort of, you know, go in head first at this point, and although I don't, you know, recommend it to a new vapor, again, I'm just pointing out all the different categories, and it's up to each individual to make, you know, their own decisions and their own choices. We've got the tube, all right. This one is the first model that I'm showing you that has a removable battery. Alrighty, this one takes the 18650, and we'll cover the battery naming conventions in the next videos. The reason this isn't recommended is because once the battery is removable, okay, then you have to make absolutely certain that you're using the correct batteries. You have to make certain that you have a charger that's properly matched with your battery, and it just adds sort of another level of complexity that many new vapors sort of aren't willing to deal with. Okay, and with good reason. You know, right now you just want to get a good solid vape, and that's the main thing. And again, that's why most people recommend the sort of fat bat category that we discussed. Okay, but again, this takes the 18650. A battery like this will last most vapors definitely the better part of a day, and some even get, you know, a full day between charges. If that's not enough, you can go to something like this, a box mod, okay? Very powerful device. All right, not very socially acceptable, especially with this 801 Addy that I use, atomizer, okay, that I use. It's sort of very long. Of course, I'm sort of, you know, past the, you know, socially acceptable sort of stage. I don't really care, but it would make sense that a new vapor would take the social aspect into consideration. All right, this takes 2 batteries. Alright, and then regulates the voltage to 5 volts. So this is called a 5-volt box mod. Alright, inexpensive, lots of power. They make box mods with 1 battery. Okay, so it's just another category to keep in mind. Again, not recommended for the new vapor, but maybe something that you could sort of transition to down the road. And if that's not enough, you can go to something like this. Okay. Full variable voltage, fully settable, allows you to customize your vape, you know, almost perfectly. Alrighty, it is large, it's heavy. All right, it's a well-constructed device. Okay, fully settable. All right, just by pressing the buttons here. Hopefully you can see that clearly. Would cost about anywhere between $60 and $70. Okay. Again, I've dropped this specific one from, it's rolled off tables a couple of times, and there's barely a scratch. Okay. Overall, a very good device, very popular device. And the really cool thing is, if you find this to be sort of a little bit too large, alright, they've come out with its smaller brother. And the reason this is really cool is because you're not sacrificing any of the functionality. Okay, it just takes a little bit of a smaller battery, so that all you'd have to do is maybe take an extra one with you. Okay, it's only this big. Alright, very small, 35 millimeters, alright, only in length. So if you took, you know, an extra one with you, you'd be all set to go for the better part of a day. Alrighty, so we've pretty much gone from, you know, a $5 disposable all the way up to a $60, $70 fully settable variable voltage device. Okay, so we've covered, and pretty much everything in between, so we've pretty much covered the vaping spectrum, if you will, as it exists today. And hopefully, after seeing these different types, these different categories, it'll help you more closely match your expectations with a device. Alrighty, in the next video we're going to take a look at the 3 components that come together to make up the vaping experience. So join me for that video.